It has taken dedicated mudlark Tony Pilson more than 30 years to unearth this collection of buttons and cufflinks from the banks of the River Thames. His unique collection includes more than 2,500 buttons, ranging in date from the late 14th to the late 19th century. They are now being donated to the Museum of London and include examples of buttons made of silver, pewter and semi-precious stones. Tony started mudlarking in 1976.
I first heard about people looking on the foreshore of the Thames for old things, and I came down and I saw a bunch of guys scratching around in the pebbles and stones and mud looking for things and finding things, and I was hooked, and I started finding buttons and other things, obviously right from the word go, and I kept back things like buttons because nobody else seemed to be interested in them, so I thought, well, I'll collect them.
Most of the finds were uncovered using a metal detector and a spade. Mudlarks have a duty to declare all discoveries of historical interest to the Museum of London. Here they are identified and recorded before being returned to the finder. This collection is believed to be the largest of its kind in the world.
The Thames itself was the main thoroughfare. It was the best way to get about town. It was the easiest, quickest route. And there were some 2,000 watermen plying for trade, operating a taxi service which took people north, south, east, west. And you have to imagine that every time somebody embarked on a boat or got off, they were encountering slippery stairs or perhaps rotten quaysides. It was very probable and likely that they'd snag their clothing and in that way perhaps lose a button.
A lot of rubbish from cesspits and wells also found itself dumped on the banks of the Thames and reflects the material being uncovered today. They also reveal more about the whole spectrum of social and cultural life.
The metallurgy, the way that these pieces were made, is extraordinarily interesting in its own right. We know that London was the centre for luxury trade, but also for small metal manufacturers. And one of the things we're hoping to do is to do some really detailed research about the makers themselves, but also the people that wore these buttons, why they chose particular designs. Some of them, for example, relate to some of the London clubs of the day, like Wilkes and Liberty.
The museum now plans to document every last piece, photograph them and put them online for everyone to access. This could also lead to a new classification and typology to help historians date things in relation to clothing and textiles.